Anyway, well,
yeah.
Here's the deal. So, what do you guys think about any of the stuff that has been going on? You know what I mean in bodybuilding. Like, does that scare you? Does that like deter you from anything? Does that change your goals? Does that change the way you approach things? Does that change your like outlook on any of it? Like, what do you guys think of any of that?
I mean, nothing has changed for me because I've already been that way. Like, I've already been cautious and very monitored things very well, been conservative, made sure I have a coach that is very particular about those things. Like, I've always been that way. So I'm like, it's kind of like, oh crap. I mean, maybe I'll have to quit earlier than I'd hoped later on in life. But aside from that, not so much, but
right
there again, I'm not a mass monster yet. Like, it's those heavy guys that probably have to worry more.
Yeah, and well, it kind of has for me. Like, it's kind of like a reality check, like for sure. Like, you know it in the back of your head, but like, it was always like, oh, that's other people, that's bigger people, that's, you know what I mean. That's like what I always had in the back of my head. But now it's like, okay, so you're getting older now. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you do have to like look past it. You know what I mean? Like, look past the bodybuilding thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's just been more and more in my mind frequently, where I'm like, there's something after bodybuilding and I want to live it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just been more in my mind for sure lately. Not necessarily because of some of the other stuff that has been going on. Like, that just adds to it. But like, in your head, you're like, I always think of like, well, what's out there? Like, I don't want to have to do the same stuff over and over constantly. Because I know at some point it's going to get boring, not in a bad way, right? Like, at some point you're going to be like, bro, I don't want to do this shit anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
you just want to go on a vacation and actually eat food and actually do things you want to do and try new things.
Right. Exactly.
There's a point in life where that happens.
Yeah. And
you're going to probably wish you had more time doing it.
Yeah. And I don't, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love bodybuilding. Like, would I do it again? Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why we're all here, you know? Otherwise we wouldn't be here. What else would I be doing, you know? But I think a lot of people just have a scary approach to it too now. They're like, it's like, oh, this is all I'm ever going to do, and there's nothing else but this. And then, you know, something comes along in your life and you're like, well, that changes the perspective a lot. Like, that's how I was.
Right.
Like, I had nothing to do other than bodybuild for a couple of years. I did nothing. Like, no family, no like, nobody at home. It was me, four walls, the dog, and just working out. So all I did was compete. You know what I mean? And that was that's kind of a scary approach, because I was like, I didn't care. I was like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, got a kidney infection, and like, if it wasn't for the right people that were around me at that time, I would have been like, I would have still done the show that I was prepping for, because I would have like, I don't care. What else do I got to do? You know what I mean? Like,
did you guys see Seth Ferosi's video he put up on YouTube the other day?
Yeah, I saw that.
The ring that he went on. So like, he kind of talks about that. Like, things change eventually. It's like, okay, wow, I have kids that depend on me, or something changes in your life, and you know, you just got to kind of readjust.
Yeah.
Like, and age comes into factor, but you know, when you're younger and there's not as much riding on you to make it a lot longer,
yeah,
you know, you may think a little differently, but
for sure. How about you, Isaac?
I mean, it worries me to some degree. With me starting like bodybuilding so like late, you know, in my life, 32 years old, basically. You know, I'm like, all right, I got a plan. You know, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to this age and I'm pretty much call it a quits. You know, so I haven't really like beat the shit out of my body yet. And, you know, like all of us do, we all make sure we do all our health checks and shit like that. So,
yeah.
And I'm kind of like Jordan, where my blood work doesn't really get too fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm not too concerned, but, you know, it does kind of sit in the back of my head at times, you know, with seeing everybody just kind of dropping off and this, and that. And I don't know if it's just because of, I don't know, if the gear's more fucked up nowadays, or they're just running too much, or if it's a fucking vaccine shit. I have no clue. I'm not a conspiracy theorist when it comes to this shit. So we'll see what happens.
What do you think, Elliott?
I'm in my early 20s, so a lot of the guys that died that are like 44 and all those. When it first started happening, it was kind of like, I expected that won't be me type thing. Some guys that really hit home, like Dallas McCarver and some of the younger guys like that. Like I believe he was 26.
Yeah.
That'll be me in 3 years. So like
me right now.
Right.
Yeah, I just I really feel bad for the families and everything. And luckily, like you guys, my blood work's always been solid. I do ultrasounds on all my organs and heart. I do calcium scores. It's always been okay. My body seems to respond pretty well to lower dosages, but I know there's a lot of lines that I'm not really tapping into that come with becoming a pro, which is honestly my goal. And when the day comes to do that, I don't have any doubt that I will say no and choose a healthier route or just be more moderate. Just knowing myself, I'll do what it takes to be the best I can be and to try to, be a really good professional at my chosen sport. But I've always wanted a family and I've always wanted a life after bodybuilding. I've never been one of the guys that's going to try to do it till he's 50. I have at least a thought a day. I'm sure you guys do, where it's like, damn, I really don't want to eat this chicken rice. I'd rather have a sandwich and watch TV and go hit legs. Just normal thoughts like that.
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, for me, it's not as much like I don't want to stop living the lifestyle, like stopping the training and the working out. That's not where I am. Cause like, even now, like if I have a few days off where I'm like not fully, okay. So newsflash to everybody, because I know this will get a lot of shit. Yes. There's days where I'm like, you go out and you do your thing and you don't train. There's days that happen like that. Deep in the off season for me, they do. They happen, right? Like, am I on my shit majority of the time? You bet your ass I am. But there's days where like, it's like we got a bunch of shit going on with the family, whatever. Like, I'll miss meals. I'll eat a shitty sandwich here and there. But that's not what goes on every day for me. Like, so anyway, so there's days where like I do that, and then the next day I'm like, why did I do that? I feel like shit. I don't feel as good as I usually do. I'm sluggish, you know what I mean? It takes me a little bit to like get back like into like my body being in the full swing of things. So I don't have that anymore where like I want to eat bad shit all the time. I used to have that. I used to be like always like food driven. Now it's not as much. Now I'm like, we can go out to eat, and after we get home from going out to eat, I'm like, I don't have to fucking finish it off with like 10 cookies and a bowl of cereal. Like I don't have that anymore. I really don't. And I think that took a while for me to hone, where it's like, okay, you don't,
it comes with time.
Yeah, you don't have to fuck yourself up. Like you're fine. Like you don't have to go and eat the cookies after. And like, and I don't even have the crave to, because I know I'm not going to feel my best the next few days. So that's just, I don't think it's that for me anymore. I think for me, it's going to have to be like, I want to channel my energy in the same way into a different avenue, a more reasonable avenue per se, where like I know if I keep pursuing something with the same like want and need and effort to something else, other than bodybuilding, I think like that's going to be where I'm going to have to head. Like I'm going to have to pick something else, and I'm going to have to channel that same energy towards something else, because I'm still going to be coaching. Like if I do stop doing this, like I'm never going to stop coaching, because I love the sport, and that's a way for me to be around the sport. But
a lot of people do.
Yeah, but I think I also have to be realistic with myself and like, how far can I actually take this? Do you know what I mean? Like, do I have the genetics to see? So don't get me wrong, I'm not calling it quits. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm still going to try and attain the goals that I want to attain. but I'm going to have to weigh my risk factors more now. It's like, okay, you like, I have to be real with myself. Does your body actually want to, be at the level that you need to be to attain those goals?
Right.
And that's just for me personally, because like everybody's different, like genetically, and I'm not saying that like my genetics are terrible for this or that. That's not totally not what I'm saying. I'm just saying how much more can my body give me, where like the risk just becomes too big for the reward. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we all know this is a genetic sport. Like I feel like I've fought against my genetics as far as like size goes. For years, I've just been fighting to put on size. Like I'll take off such extended periods and just get little by little, I'll add size and strength, and I'm not one of these guys that just blows up. But, it is a matter of having to assess, like, okay, how in the world would I ever compete with like a Nick Walker?
Right.
Just like you don't think he could get any bigger, and he just gets even bigger,
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to go through with yourself when you love something so much. And I think that's what a lot of these guys struggle with is, I mean, especially if they've been doing it for 20 years, like how do you tell yourself to not keep loving that thing that you did every single day, all year long? You have an off season, but it's not like you're a professional basketball player and you stop, you have a season where you don't have 80 games within several months. Like they have a time where they can turn it off. We don't ever turn it off. And then all of a sudden there's a time in your life where it's like, you can't go back, that's got to be hard. So I don't blame them for not being able to stop, but it also is like a reality check of like, okay, we all need to be real with ourselves of how far we can take this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the part that sucks. That reality check that you get, like, cause I've had that a few times where I'm like, fuck dude, like, I think you might've overestimated what you can accomplish here. And you got to be confident in the sport. Obviously, you can't like second guess what you're doing, and but that's like my biggest struggle is like I can literally like sometimes take myself from like, a couple hours ago, I'm like, oh, I got this shit. It's fine. I'm good. I'm I know what I'm capable of, and I'm super confident. I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then a couple hours later, like I start thinking in my head, and all of a sudden I'm like, nah, you don't have this. You're not gonna do this. You know what I mean? So it's like and then I get this like second guessing myself of like how far, what, you're a dummy. Why are you still pushing this stuff when like you're clearly never gonna be good enough to attain the goal that you want to attain? So it's I
think we all have those questions though. Like I have those questions too a lot of the time. Like every stage that I've been through in bodybuilding, I'm like, can I even compete at this show? Am I even going to do decent, or can I even compete as a decent pro? Like that's been the thought in my head. Sometimes I'll have those thoughts of like, what if I just completely wash out? Like, what if I think I'm decent and I'm not? Like, I think we all go through that, and that's what drives us a little bit, but it's hard to balance between being realistic and fighting those negative thoughts. A lot of times it's just thoughts being negative.
It's like, you can call that like a mid-career bodybuilding crisis. Instead of a midlife crisis, a midlife career bodybuilding crisis. Am I good enough?
Right.
Well,
I think like my biggest struggle with everything is just trying to find not the balance, I guess, but just that time with my kids. It's like trying to turn off bodybuilding for a little bit sometimes and realizing like, okay, like I got to go and spend time with them and go be normal and eat something with them, or just to show them that dad's just a normal fucking person, Yeah. I think that's like that struggle that I go through like daily is just trying to take myself out of the whole like locked in bodybuilding, mindset and have to be dad for a while, So, it's that to me is probably one of the toughest things when you're trying to do this shit and, you got kids and stuff like that, like that. I mean, I'm sure you guys will find out soon enough, And it happens, you have the kids and all of a sudden you're like, shit, man, I don't have time to go train right now, but you're trying to make some time for it. It's like, fuck.
Yeah. See, like, to like, use me as an example, right? But that's literally what happened to me. Is like I went from having nobody at home to, because Taylor is my she's my stepdaughter, right? Like, so I got thrown into this, this thing in my house that's like, holy shit. Okay, so this is a living, breathing, growing human being that requires like love and attention and so you go from like this little bubble that I had from like, I could just bodybuild and, if I fucking go, I go. And if like, you know what I mean? To like, oh, okay, there's a human being here that I actually care about. You know what I mean? Like, it's one if you don't care about it, but like, I actually consider her like part of me now. Like, I have to care for this human being inside our house. So it's like, like all of a sudden you go from I got nothing to do to now I'm like, shit, like I feel like a dick because like I could work with her more and spend more time with her and play with her more and give her more attention, so like, or go to her MMA class with her, you know what I mean? Like, so there's those things that pop up, and that like came out of left field for me because I never thought I would be that guy that's like, oh, I'm not going to skip a gym session or meals or a day of doing shit to like hang out with a kid. Like, I never thought I would be that person.
I think us that are serious about this, like, we never can expect, like, those guys or clients or friends or whoever that it's like, okay, you have like an excuse for everything. But, when you end up having kids or responsibilities like that, like you have real excuses at that point. Like, they rely on you. And as like different of a situation as it is, I'm getting tested, like learning how to practice. I'm practicing with having this puppy now. Yeah. Because like I am trying to do this podcast. I'm kind of trying to keep him occupied. Yeah. But it's like, once you have those responsibilities, especially kids, like, it's really hard to make that time, because it's not just you're looking out for. Like, you have to make time for them. Whereas bodybuilding is a privilege. Yeah. So I respect you guys that do it, that have those kind of responsibilities.
Well, and it's not even that, like, we might be making it sound like it's worse than it actually is, right? Like, like, oh, we got kids and responsibilities, and like, Isaac has more than me, right? Because he's got 2 boys, and they're at their ages where one is doing swimming, one is doing baseball, and then it goes into basketball, and they used to pick him up from school. I don't know if he drops him off at school, but probably drops him off at school, and then he's got like client work, and like at some point it's like, where do I cut the corners to make time for all of it? And you don't want to be that guy that cuts the family time because you don't get that back. You know what I mean? It's like, you miss a baseball game or a swim practice, you're like, do I get that back? No, you don't, right? Like, so, I see that and I'm like, fuck, I got to be better in that aspect. Like, because I shouldn't be missing like MMA practices, or I shouldn't be missing that because that's the shit you don't get back. And it's all for what? You know what I mean? For a workout. At the end of the day, we have to be consistent, right? We have to be hard on ourselves to take us to a certain level. But on the other hand, it's like, where do you tip the scale? And that's so hard to find. It's like, where do you tip that scale to where like you can be the person that doesn't miss events, that's there for them, that they will have good memories with. And then you have that other guy that wants to be that hardcore bodybuilder that doesn't miss a fucking beat. That's so hard to accomplish, man. It's just tough, especially if you have a day job. You know what I mean? That's hard to do, man. So
yeah, the toll, like you guys talked about, it takes on others is probably the hardest part of bodybuilding. Just an example, like in a month, I won't be able to go to my girlfriend's brother's wedding because I just can't take a week off from the gym and clients and everything. I just can't, and I don't fit in tuxes probably either, so that's another thing. But
yeah. Well, here's the thing though, Elliott. Right? Like, do you feel bad about that?
Yeah, I do feel bad about it, but I'll speak on and then professional bodybuilding, right? It's in every professional sport, that significant other that most of these players have, they're the rock, and then they're taken care of, and they're there for their person and everything, and then they know one day they're going to retire, and they're going to have millions and millions of dollars to sit back on, a very comfortable life, safety for their children, stuff like that, and then someone that can be a full-time father or mother, right? In professional bodybuilding, it's like, okay, let's say my husband just got out of bodybuilding. I'm someone that wants to have kids. He may be infertile now. He may be unable, he may not be alive that much longer. Look at Ronnie Coleman. His body may not work to play with his children. And he may literally not have a way to make money now, you know?
Right.
So that's why bodybuilding is so much different than other professional sports. And I feel like I'm just on the lower level, just missing family events and weddings and just not going out to eat. But there are people that it escalates to the higher level where it essentially ruins their twilight years in their life.
Yeah,
I had the same type deal happen to me one time. My best friend was getting married in the Dominican Republic, and I was literally just got done with a show that weekend before, and I had to be in the wedding, otherwise I wouldn't have gone. And I was like, "Fuck, man!" I still had a show to do. I was probably another 4 or 5 weeks out from my next show. That was fucking rough, man, because you go to the Dominican Republic, it's all inclusive. You're paying all this money, and you can't even fucking eat the food at the buffets or anything. That was rough, man. I was just like, damn, how the fuck am I going to do this shit? Yeah. And what I ended up doing was I ended up just paying. We had a butler or whatever, and I gave him $50, and I said, "Here, man, here's my meal plan. Can you get this food made for me in the morning daily, these 6 meals?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, and I need a microwave too to heat up the food. And sure enough, the motherfucker brought it all, dude, wrapped up for me daily. And I was just like, everybody's like, "How did you do it?" I was like, "Oh, I just talked to the guy and, got my food made." Luckily, it just worked out that way. Otherwise, normally doesn't work that good. Plus, they had a nice gym there, so I was still able to train and do all my cardio and shit. That was fucking hard. That sucked. I wouldn't want to do that again.
I can't imagine going on vacation 4 weeks out. No one wants to be around me. That would be awful.
Hey, but I will say, being at the pool and on vacation, you look fucking pretty badass when you're 4 weeks out.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
A buddy of mine just did that. I think he's 3 weeks out.
Yeah,
and he went to Disney with his family.
Oh.
I was like, dude, I don't know how you did that.
Fuck, that's rough, dude. Standing in all those fucking lines at Disney, man. Vacation is one thing. You could throw your feet up and whatever. The wedding, I get that part fucking had to suck. Everybody's drinking and eating, and you're, But can you imagine standing in the heat at Disney 4 weeks out from a show when you're going hypo almost, and you're fucking just standing in this line in the sun. And you're fucking everybody's eating funnel cake and shit around you, and everybody's fucking happy with their Mickey Mouse ears, and you're just fucking an angry ass motherfucker just standing in those lines, hating your life, and you're fucking, and then maybe you got your fucking Mickey Mouse ears on too, and you're just fucking sitting there mad at the world, dude. I don't know how anybody could do that. I would not do it. No. For any if they paid me, even I'm not going to Disney, not 4 weeks out.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a happy, magical experience, not an angry fucking day at the park.
Well, think about off season too. We're just never fun, honestly. Then I'm just stuffed all the time. I got all this food to get in, and I'm sweaty as hell because I'm all bulked up, and I don't want to take my shirt off at the pool, and I got to eat it on the roller coaster. And
that's where I'm at.
It's oh god. So I'm never a good time, actually. I feel bad for my girlfriend. I'm sorry.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to be right back. My puppy's freaking out. I gotta take him.
No, hey dude, don't worry. We're about to cut it short, anyways. We gotta a Zoom training to do soon. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, Jordan. So you're getting big for the rest of the year?
I'm trying. Yeah. Pulled back on the food, thankfully, for a little bit because I was just struggling to eat that much food, and about to push it back up and make a push. I'm like at 267 right now. I'm gonna try to push to 285.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my dog.
Yeah, you're good.
Out.
So 2023, we'll see you on stage. Got it.
Yeah,
right.
That's the plan. That's the plan. So just gotta keep plugging away till then. Really excited for it, but it's gonna be a little bit.
Sounds good, bro. Yeah, go take your dog out. You're all good, man.
All right. Sorry I had to go early, guys. It was good talking to y'all.
Terrible. You ruined everything.
See you,
Jordan.
Guys.
Hey, real quick before we get off. I know that there has been like a bunch of ideas that like I heard on another podcast, like bouncing around too. Like what can be done to make bodybuilding like healthier per se, or more safe. I don't know if you guys heard, I know Fu had talked about it on his podcast. But what would you guys think would make it more safe? Or is there anything that can make it more safe? Or is there anything that can be done even to go back to like a more controlled per se way of bodybuilding? Is there anything that can be done that you guys can think of? And like, what would you guys even do if those things did get put in place? Because I know one of the things they talked about is like maybe like having a weight cutoff, even for open bodybuilding. Like go by height, like it is in classic, height and weight, and like this is it. Like you can't go over that.
No, the truth is that it's the drugs that are killing everyone. It's not how much food they're eating or cardio they're doing or training or everything. And like Seth Froese said, like when you're on a gamma test, tren, GH, and 2 anadrol, and you're in the gym, you feel like the fucking man. There's no better feeling in the entire world than that. And no matter if there's a weight cutoff or anything, it's just people are still going to use certain dosages that are bad. You don't know what you're genetically predisposed to or anything like that. And I think it's just that a lot of guys are so competitive they'll literally just do anything to even get that much more of an edge. And you can be under a weight cutoff and you can still be close to death like George Peterson, not even 212.
Yeah, but hear me out here, right? Like, but if guys would get to a certain point, right, they wouldn't be like, let's say the open bodybuilding cutoff for somebody's height, 5'7", 5'8", is like 220, right? So automatically, like, guys in the off season wouldn't be able to run these drugs so high because they would simply get too big. It would be too hard for them to get in shape, right? Because at the end of the day, I think body weight in general, like, is a predisposition to like being more unhealthy, right? Whether that's muscle mass or if that's fat, right? Like, that is a big issue, is how heavy and how much. I don't think it's necessarily the prep that's necessarily like a big detrimental point to your health. I think it's more the off season, how big you have to get in the off season, how big you have to push the drugs to get to this level now. I think that's the biggest issue. Walking around I
don't think it matters, bro. I don't think that
really,
whether there's a cutoff or not, we're as humans, the human nature is we're always going to push the envelope no matter what. That's just how we are, especially bodybuilders as a whole. It doesn't matter. I mean, look at the guys. I mean, you think the guys in classic are really taking anything less than the guys in open?
Not necessarily. No.
Right. They're pushing themselves. Yeah, they're just not as heavy because they genetically can't get that heavy, but they're still pushing this shit, and they're still going to keep trying as hard as they can. They're going to go bigger, and then they're just going to have to cut down even harder to make their cutoff. So,
but don't you think that in the off season, like if they get to a certain point, do you think that may be like helpful? Where like in the off season they don't have to get so much bigger and put on so much more muscle.
I mean, but look at Derek Lunsford. Like he stays getting huge in the off season, and he still has to cut back down to that 212. He just every year he gets bigger, and he still makes the cutoff. You know,
I think trying to prevent guys from getting big in the off season opens a really bad door to guys overusing stimulants and fat burners in prep to try to make weight even better. Yeah. And more diuretic usage, more cutting water. I mean, like Clen and T3, what that does to your heart over
terrible.
Time, like that's way worse than testosterone.
True.
I think that could just lead to more people drastically trying to make weight, and that's probably what kills the most people.
It's just an interesting conversation. Like I'm not saying that there's a right or a wrong for this. Right. It's just something that was thrown out there, and I was like, well, maybe I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know what it is because I don't know the true reasoning behind it. I don't know if there is a reason behind it. I don't know if it's just like bodybuilding is more mainstream now and there's more social media around it now. So maybe that's why you're hearing more of it. Once again, I don't know. And that's not what I'm saying it is. It's just, can there be anything done? I don't know. Should there something be done? Maybe, but what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like Isaac said, they're just human beings. Just I don't know if there's a way of maybe changing the standard. I don't know if maybe changing the judging. You know what I mean? Like different physiques get awarded, right? Not the fucking mass monster. I don't know. I don't know if there. You know what I mean? There's just so many ways of saying that this could be a solution or this isn't a solution. I don't know. It's just. I think what I heard was. If we want the sport to keep growing, we can't have, these weird deaths happening, more consistently. Or not saying that they're happening more consistently because I don't know that. I don't know the facts behind it. I'm just saying like having the media coverage around it is not going to push younger generation to be like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know what can be done or what can't be done, but I just think it's an interesting conversation of like, what can somebody do? What can the IFBB do? What can the NPC do? What is there to do? Like, is there anything? I don't know.
No, this is a sport with no rules, man.
True. What would happen though if we implemented some? What would you do? Elliott, like, would you still be doing it, or would you be like, "Fuck this"? Yeah, you guys are creating an unfair advantage to some people,
Yeah, it depends. I think I'll try to fit into whatever space I can to win. So if they change some rules,
Right. Well, so now that's interesting that you said that, right? Because like at the end of the day, it's training and eating for you and lifting weights. That's what you love, right? You love the consistency, right? Mm-hmm. So what if one of the things you got, like something got taken away from you where it's like, well, maybe there's maybe there's not necessarily a limit on your weight, right? But one, you have to have a clean bill of health when you step on stage, right? Or you have to, because the weight cap thing is hard, right? So, because not weight is all the same, right? But maybe you have to have, a doctor's sign off on you competing in a show. And maybe there's a few doctors in the IFBB and then PC that you can send your labs to, and he says, like, yeah, you're good to compete in the show, or maybe you're not good to compete in the show. Like, what do you guys think of that? Is that even a possibility?
Scientifically, certain compounds that most people take before shows can drastically skew blood work to be inaccurate.
For sure.
So but yeah, like a scan would be great, but then who's paying for that? Ultrasound's $1,000.
Hey, and here's the thing, like maybe there's going to be, a few clinics set up that can work with, bodybuilders or whatever. I don't know, but at the end of the day, right? Like it's interesting because we're willing to spend $1,000 on a prep coach, but you're not willing to spend $1,000 on a CT scan.
I personally do. I'm
not saying that you don't, but I'm just saying
No, totally. Yeah. It's just, I don't think everyone, if we push that onto that amount onto the athlete, not all of them are fortunate enough to be able to do that. When you compare it to a football player who a man tears his ACL and the team covers everything. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's difficult. And especially a lot of guys are putting everything on the line to try to make a paycheck at these shows that are the upper level, the Arnolds and the Olympias. And as like the football player does, it's just not as, it's not the same. It's not as fair to people.
Yeah, I agree in that aspect too. But anyway, it's an interesting conversation. But we're gonna wrap this up because this is obviously a conversation that we can have for a very long time here. And I don't know that there isn't like a magical answer to all of this because I don't really think there is. Do I believe that something maybe can be changed to try and improve things for the better? Maybe there's something to be looked at. I don't know how, when there's people way above my pay grade to figure this, types of stuff out. But anyway, any additional tidbits you guys want to throw in?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I think just like one last point on that. I think if you asked a bodybuilder to come in worse than they have before, that's going to be really hard for a lot of guys.
True.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. It's like, okay, compete, but be less conditioned. I'd be like, no, I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't compete. I'd let my last stage photos be my best stage photos because I won't come in worse.
Interesting. But what if there was a new standard?
I know
Personally,
what I
right?
want. Yeah, personally, and it's I love the mass monsters in bodybuilding that are grainy conditioned, and if that's not what's wanted anymore, then that's totally fine.
That's where you would hang it up?
Yeah, and then I'd just be an influencer.
Hey man, can't be mad at that. Honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, kudos to you, man. Kudos to you for being able to do that because not a lot of people would be like, no, good. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. We have hopefully another episode coming soon. Maybe we can go more in depth on some of the stuff, and we'll go from there. Thanks for your time, and make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.